All right, Aries, I think that some of you may not be sure about yourself right now or how to act, but that may be because you're dealing with a situation or a person here where intentions are not very clear. So, from Lay Vampire, natural, authentic, real, and organic, and then mysticism from chakra wisdom. Natural is talking about the over reliance on ways of identifying who you are through the material. But that is not who you truly are. It's just the things that you have to show for, the work that you've done, the material things that you have, right? But who you are really is what's more important here. Now, with mysticism being there, the curse stuck out to me. It says too much reliance on the feedback of society. Self-worth is centered in status and therefore is constantly shifting, uncentered. So some of you may be feeling uncentered about a situation here because of mysticism. This is talking about fear of the unknown, ignoring the signs, needing to pay attention to your intuition and that intuitive knowing. It's very much like the high priestess, but things are not clear. And then, to me, this is saying don't act. Don't act if you are not certain or if you're not certain about yourself. But then the other thing, though, too, is definitely don't be something that you're not. All right, Aries. Here's your overall for the week, the Six of Swords. So needing to move on from something. Some of you may need to actually move. But with the Six of Swords, you're talking about moving away from conflict, moving away from difficult situations. It's not something that you had expected to do, but it's not something that you should be involved with, though, anymore. But we'll see here. Now, in the past, the King of Swords. Boy. All right. The King of Swords is the past coming through. We could definitely be talking about a person. Some of you may be dealing with an air sign, which is possible, but you guys know how I feel about that. Now, for some of you, this is going to be about thinking clearly. At one point in the past, you have had to, literally sit back and think. Think about what you needed to do here, right? Thinking clearly about your situation, looking at things from a logical perspective here, and realizing that it's time to move on. But for some of you, it's needing to move on from a person who may not be emotionally available or open to you, because of the King of Swords. I love him, but I hate him. It always depends on what's showing up around him. In the present, the Eight of Wands. So we're either talking about things swiftly changing for you and you having no choice here but to move on with the Six of Swords, or we're talking about communication. What I worry about here is if we're talking about the communication going back and forth between you and another person, in the past showing the King of Swords, I think of a smooth talker, and is communication opening back up with this person, but are you realizing that maybe it's time to move on, which is possible here, but we'll see. Oh boy. And that's never a good thing when it shows up for Aries. The Four of Cups, boredom, dissatisfaction. This is not what I thought it was going to be. I think right now, if you are dealing with a person here, I see communication with this more so than anything. I do think that you're open to communicating with this person, but I don't know that anything has actually changed. I think that, there's still this back and forth, but if we're talking about you needing to be real with yourself here, then, maybe it's time to move on if this person is not clear with what their intentions are. I just worry that maybe some of you are trying to be something that you're not, but we're not looking at facade. But I think the big time warning here is if you're still open to communicating with a person, you have to be who you truly are, not something that this person wants you to be. Because it's like they're not really seeing you. You know, and I say that because of the Oracle cards. But with the Four of Cups being in future conditions, you know, I look at this and think, for some people, it's not seeing that Ace of Cups and being so dissatisfied with everything that's in front of you that you can't see what is going to bring you that fulfillment, you know. But for a lot of you, I feel like you're just not happy with what is coming through. The communication just isn't good enough. This is not what I thought it was going to be. It's time for you to move on. Yeah, I'm telling you, your best path to follow, the Chariot. In order for things to start picking up momentum for you, it is time to move. Like physically pick up and move on. You know, and then with the Eight of Wands, definitely we could be talking about long distance communication. You know, because of the Six of Swords being the overall here, it's a little bit different. Had that been your advice, I would have been like, okay, so there are some things that you need to move on from, but it's in order for you to like bridge the distance, so to speak. But that's not the case here. Like, I don't think that that's the case. I think that you have tried that. And now it's time to, you know, be done with this, move on from this. But it's like some of you may be dealing with a person who's still pulling you back in. You know, and with the Chariot, right, it's needing to get control over the opposing forces. Do you feel like you're being pulled in two different directions? Do you be true to yourself? Or do you get involved with someone who is still opening up that communication? But nothing is satisfying about this situation coming out in future conditions. And again, moving, like needing to pick up and go. It's time to move now. In your environment, you, the Emperor, who has control? Who has control here? You know, what I love about your card is we're talking about the want to enforce your will onto your environment, to leave your mark, so to speak, right? But I'm looking at two cards that are suggesting that you need to get control over the direction that you're headed. Don't be pulled back in by a situation based on what is being said to you if, you know, it's still not what you want. And it's still not making you happy. There's still this like dissatisfaction going on with this. Because this is not happy, not good, being bored, being like lethargic to everything. Knowing that you need to move on from this and stop being open to the communication here if nothing is actually changing. And stop letting somebody else have control. You know? You need to stay in control of the communication. Don't let what somebody else is saying to you influence, you know, the choices that you're making coming out in future conditions. But like I feel like the unhappiness and the dissatisfaction is what's going to win over here. And you're going to be like, no, I'm out. I can't do this. You know, it's not that you want to, but I think some of you are realizing that you need to now in order to get back in control. Wow, Aries. Oh, shit. Your hopes and your fears, the Seven of Swords. You know, and this is not about you. This is not about you. And again, this is what I'm talking about with intentions not being clear. It's almost like you have somebody who is communicating to you in a way where, you know, this should be simple logic to you. Why are you not seeing this? And with the Four of Cups, you're like, you know what? No. You know, I'm not, you've lost me. You've lost my interest. I'm done with this. I'm bored. You know, I didn't want to have to do this, but like, I can't. If you're worrying about the Seven of Swords, this to me is suggesting that this is something that, you know, you have already experienced when it comes to dealing with this person in particular. But then not only that, again, intentions are not clear. Intentions are not clear. What is it that this person is wanting from you? You know, and I go back to mysticism, and to me, it's just screaming like you're not sure. And intuitively, if you know that there may be ulterior motives, then yeah, you need to pay attention to that, be real with yourself, and move on. Move away, move on. You know, especially for those of you who are dealing with a person who is not, you know, emotionally open to you. And I say that because of this coming out here. Wow, Aries. Oh, you know, and I get it. Like, I get it. I understand. You know, the feeling around this is that I think that a lot of you at one point were willing to, like, bridge the distance between you and another person, right? Especially if there hasn't been contact, or if they're at a distance, or you, them, whatever. You know, because I see distance between you and another person, not just emotionally, but physically. And with the Five of Cups coming out, like, I understand the disappointment. Like, because why would you be wasting your time talking to somebody if there wasn't an interest? You know? But this to me is saying disappointment big time. You know, being emotionally let down by this person because they're not really open in that way to you, but yet they're still trying to control how you think, how you feel. Looking at the Emperor coming down, I don't think that this is about you doing this to anybody else, because you're the one that's worrying about the Seven of Swords, you know, and you're the one that's coming out here with this emotional garbage, you know, but like, I get it, right? And then the Three of Wands. But with that Five of Cups coming out, I'm telling you, nothing is changing here. You know, if you continue to put yourself in that position where you're waiting for something to happen, it's not going to, with the way that it's lining out. And with that Six of Swords being there, yeah, it is time to move on, no matter how difficult. The Hermit. Again, there is distance. There is distance between you and this person. You have been on your own, but you've also been reflecting on this. But based on the way that this person is communicating to you, there's still very much like this want to be involved, or want to keep things going with the Two of Pentacles. Bending over backwards for somebody, trying to keep the situation up in the air, trying to figure things out. You know, but eventually you get pushed to this point here where it's time to move on. But with the Three of Wands, some of you may still be holding out. Like, waiting to see something change, waiting to see, you know, what's going to happen if you continue to put yourself in this position of, okay, you know, I'm still here. I'm, you know, bending over backwards for you. I'm flexible. You know, I'm trying to manage this. But it's not giving you what you want in the end. Man, Aries. You know, it bothers me. It bothers me because I look at the Four of Cups, and, you know, like I said, it's never a good thing when Aries is bored, because you guys are quick to move on. But there's something about this person in this situation that still has you kind of like in it, you know? But you know that it's time to go. It's time to move. It's time to move on from this. You know, nothing that you are doing here is going to make this person change. And I go back to that Seven of Swords and think they're not clear. They're not being clear at all. Treat yourself better. Yes, treat yourself. Treat yourself better. The heart chakra. This, you know, with teach being right in the middle, you're needing to teach yourself to open up that heart center. But for you, so that you can start treating yourself better. You know, teach is also talking about teaching by example, teaching others based on what you're experiencing. So when you come out of this situation, you're going to be able to say to others, look, I've experienced this. Let me, you know, show you how I've dealt with this. You know, let me give you some guidance. But you need to open up your heart here when it comes to treating yourself better and stop letting somebody else have control. Stop bending over backwards for somebody else. And then have faith. Trust your faith in this situation. Have faith that, once you move on from this, that things will be better for you. Don't go out of your way. Don't go out of your way for somebody who is not going to give you what you need, especially on an emotional level here. If they're not open to you, it is not your responsibility to keep the situation going or to be flexible for them and keep the communication up and allow them to have control if they are not setting clear intentions on what they want. Because the way that you come out on this situation is not worthy of you. Right? And again, you need to start treating yourself better. Teach yourself to open up your heart and be better to yourself.